Hello, everyone, and welcome back to JaianMusic Notes. I'm your host, JaianMusic, and today we're diving into the groundbreaking world of Kenji Kawai's score for Ghost in the Shell, the 1995 film. And with me to do this, I have Simon with me. How are you?
I'm super good, Jaian. Thanks for the invite.
Of course. Very glad to have you on today. We're going to be talking about a film that's has a seamless blend of electronic, ambient, and classical influences. A true anime music masterpiece will be absolutely devoured and deep dive today on JaianMusic Notes. But before we get into all of that, Simon is a composer, someone who has great experience in film music. Tell us a little bit about your background and your love story with the music in Ghost in the Shell.
I started music with playing violin when I was a kid. Then I went into classical music. So I guess this is where I got a taste of film music and orchestral stuff, even if, as we know, film music can be absolutely diverse, and we'll have an ear to that today. And then, I've been passionate about alternative music. It's been rock, hardcore, punk, then electronic music. Pop, pretty much everything. I think music is a language, and whatever the genre, there's something to be processed.
Absolutely.
What else? I'm in Montreal. We met at the university.
Yeah, in film music. Film
together. Music.
Yeah.
Moved to Montreal. Yes. I moved in I moved in Montreal for the long term because I thought the city was very stimulating musically, artistically, so nowadays what I do is that I play in a band called Silent After Dark. It's alternative rock, hardcore.
It's amazing. Linked in the description, of course. Go listen to Silent After Dark. It's bangers on bangers over there.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And on the side, I'm a producer, artistic director too, because I have clients, artists that come to my studio, and I help them record their songs. Then I mix, master, and so pretty happy with where things are at today, and excited for the future.
Absolutely, I'm so excited. You talk about being an artistic director and a producer, because the sponsor of this podcast, Laser Audio Technologies, offers tools for people such as yourself, Simon. So whether you create your own music podcast or have creative projects, Laser Audio has you covered. They have cutting edge creative effects plugins such as Fram and Glow, and if you use code JaianMusic at checkout, you get 25% off. Every dollar from that code goes straight back into the podcast, such as GoPro Kyo, who does all of the artwork. Now that all of the promoting has been ousted and it's in the past now, we can talk about Ghost in the Shell. Can you start, Simon, by telling us what made the music stand out when the movie first came out? Because this was your recommendation. This was the first time ever a guest was like, I want to do this thing, so you need to watch this thing, Jaian. I'm usually the guy who watched something and proposes it. So this was I just watched the whole film. I have so many ideas in mind, but for you, just what made the music stand out?
So first, I'm super glad that I've been able to share this with you. To answer your first question earlier, really briefly, what I like a lot about the movie is, as we'll talk about it, this incredible blend and very, I don't know, I think the composer's taste is fantastic. He managed this blend of traditional Japanese music, even Bulgarian, because we have choirs.
Yes,
On
Bulgarian
the
choirs abound.
introduction, like it's like harmonies that and melodies that we're not used to hear, and I don't know, feels super luminous. And I remember as the movie opens, I was like my eyes wide open. I don't think I blinked. And yeah, there's this. It's haunting. It's ethereal. It feels otherworldly, and yeah, I like the 90s because I was raised during that time, but I think the music is absolutely relevant today.
Yeah.
So what I know about the context of the movie is that yeah, I feel like the soundtrack in Ghost in the Shell was groundbreaking for its time.
Yes.
It wasn't just background music; it was a huge part of telling the general story, and that blend of traditional Japanese music with electronic sounds was super fresh and gave the movie a really unique vibe. You felt the emotional weight of the film's deeper themes. So it's all about identity, humanity, technology, and you got that just from the music. It's one of those soundtracks where it's not just there to fill the space.
No,
it's there to
not.
make you
It's part of the
feel
story.
something.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a perfect match. It's a perfect match for the film.
Absolutely. I think that when you say like it's a perfect match for the film, I think the reason why is it blends technology, it blends humanity. Like the music literally, I really felt like the music blended all these elements of the film. It's almost like, to me, this is the nearest the film was an actual character. The music was an actual character in the film. It almost felt like that because it was so a part of it, and there's so many great musical moments throughout it that we'll get more into it. But like Kenji Kawai did something really special with the soundtrack, like you said, mixing like traditional Japanese sounds with more electronic elements. Tell me more about like how was that balance made, and how did it come together? Did it feel natural when you were listening to it, or do you feel like it was like, all right, here's a layer of Japanese orchestration sounds and here's a layer of electronic elements and it kind of just sits together, or was it more natural?
No, I as I said earlier, it's when I say haunting is that I think things work so much together that it creates a realm. It's, I don't know, it was a music I never heard before, but it's, when sometimes you discover something and you've got this feeling that you already know this somewhere in your head or in your dreams. It's amazing. It just, I think that's a great work when you convey a universe, an ambience so easily, so directly. It feels like it exists already. It feels like you know it, even if you're in a world that you are discovering just now. And I think that we have this feeling even more because we live nowadays where it's the music of that movie influenced a lot of what we had later. I think it influenced The Matrix, many things, and I think that its legacy is still into modern music, like having this. It was a time, 95, like the 90s, where like using samples to create new music, especially electronic, was a thing with house music, hip hop. They were very big, and watching this movie is like, okay, that's felt like, oh, that's music from the future, I guess, to people who listened, who discovered that back then. So I think that Kawai, the composer, really nailed that fusion of what was probably new at the time, and so the fusion of the old and new, like the traditional and what probably he was around at the time. All those electronic sounds, all those glitches, all those things that we have in the movie. It's a code that is still here today in modern music, heavily used nowadays. If we just take a look around.
Absolutely.
So as a composer, I'm interested in. I like how he used traditional instruments like the shamisen and koto, which are like sounds we got in every synth from the 90s, the digital synth. And this sounds to me, I don't know, it's really part of that whole picture, and I loved it. I think it works so nice, and it's instruments that we have in every modern synth now. Let's take Omnisphere.
Right.
Have the koto. You have those sounds that are.
Right.
It's a. You can wonder, you're like, why is there a fucking koto, shamisen in my little synth? It's just like this fusion between the traditional and the modern is something that probably influenced a lot, even synth makers or stuff like that, music technologies, and it's really nice to witness that in the film. But I guess it was a pretty wild combo at the time. But it works perfect.
It is a wild combo for sure.
Yeah.
And the other thing too that I feel like was done so well is that they didn't clash.
No,
there was no clash of any sort with that. It became, and I think it speaks to, like, how you said, like, the first time you listened to it and the first time you saw it, you didn't blink. It's because this fusion is so bizarre, but it worked because this film is really weird.
Yes, but it works perfectly because the film is all about the tension between human nature and technology.
Yes.
The traditional instruments bring in this sense of humanity, history, culture, spirit, while the electronic sounds feel more mechanical and cold. And this balance, I guess, shows the conflict that's at the heart of the film. How humans are dealing with their increasingly technological world.
Absolutely. We're talking a lot about, like, the blend between the themes of the film and the music in the film. And a big theme in Ghost of the Shell is the idea of, like, the soul and consciousness, especially in this world full of technology. So how do you feel like those big philosophical questions are answered or captured by the music?
The music is like a reflection to me of that internal struggle, like if that answers your question, but it's inspiring. The electronic elements often feel detached, or they reflect the way technology can sometimes feel alienating or cold.
Cold. I was literally thinking cold. I completely agree with that.
To me, it's ice cold. It's incredible, and it's fantastic. Like, the introduction of the opening scenes of the movie are all about that. It's like it reminds me also, and I think it was probably inspired by it. If you've seen it, there's Michel Gondry that did a music video for Björk, which is All Is Full of Love, and the video is looks, or reminds me at least, extremely of Ghost in the Shell. It's like robots being built. So you've got all this chain, like elements. It's like zzz, things are screwing against each other, blah, blah, blah. Then it builds the head of the robot, and there are like two are made at the same time, and they experience love at the same time. So they kiss and they get close as they are being built. So they're incomplete, but it's like human emotions and feelings are being built at the same time as their whole body, you know. And I don't know, I think it's amazing. So while those sounds, those electronic elements feel cold and somehow impersonal, because it's not something we know from our culture, from traditional thing. The traditional instruments bring a human touch, giving us something familiar and comforting. I think it's like there's this back and forth between those two things, and as far as I can remember, in some moments you can feel the tension rising, especially when the characters are going through huge existential questions, like the main character. What's her name?
Motoko.
Motoko. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. No. Exactly. I mean. Yeah, like if I may just interject here, like I really feel like Motoko is a character that probably questions her existence the most in the film, like one of.
Yeah.
And when you were talking about like the technological glitches and like the electronic elements in the music, I feel like that helps convey the emotion or the lack of emotion or the questioning, that whole
yes,
difficulty that she has as the main character.
And that's absolutely a key word you're saying to me. It's like it's the struggle. It's basically humans that she's a human that has been transferred to a robot body, and she asks those huge existential questions to herself, but also to her partner, about who they really are in a world that's so driven by technology. And it's all about showing that struggle between what makes us human and what makes us artificial, you know, which is like, I mean, cannot think of a better movie in our times of AI.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, absolutely. That's scaringly well said. That's very scaringly well said. Like, now, this is feeling cold to me all of a sudden. I feel like this should be a soundtrack at this very moment.
No, but yeah, it was funny as I watched it again for the show today.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was like, wow, this
is like, why is this so accurate?
And it was like precisely 30 years ago.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely crazy.
We're cooked.
No, yeah, such a piece of art.
Yeah, very, very, very well said. Okay, so speaking on the AI and everything, we can maybe go more into the electronic elements of the soundtrack. Lots of synthetic sounds, lots of electronic instruments, like we said. How do you feel like they set us up to be a part of a cyberpunk world? Because this is like a very, very cyberpunk anime film to me.
From a musical side, it's I think it's all in the way he blends, as we said, traditional and electronic.
Yeah.
He doesn't just throw them together for the sake of contrast. It feels organic. And when those traditional instruments are paired with the synthesizers, it creates these unexpected moments that are both ancient and futuristic at the same time. If I guess that counts as a cyberpunk vision, you know, it's about implementing parts of our culture or past culture to future to the futuristic visions or fantasies we have, and it this blend creates a tension that is exactly what is reflected in the film's deeper themes, and this parallel, this absolutely cyberpunk aesthetic, and it's that. I don't know if he's the first to have created like this kind of cyberpunk universe.
I wonder.
Maybe
That's
not.
a really good question.
But
yeah,
I feel I don't know. For example, like I don't know really when things like Blade Runner came. I don't know if it was before or after. Maybe before, but anyways.
I mean, what comes to mind for me when we talk about cyberpunk, I obviously this is an anime music show, so I try to keep it anime music. But like, I think of Akira is definitely a cyberpunk anime, with bizarre music. But like, I feel like the music in Akira is like a little more orchestral. I'm literally just thinking like off the top of my head here. Obviously, I haven't listened or touched Akira in a really long time, but. You know, there's these musical shifts between organic and electronic, so inorganic textures throughout the film, and I feel like this shift, you know, represents the humanity and the machinery of each character. That's why we have like Gregorian chants and like these like big choirs, and then like literal glitch. Like glitch, bro. Like that's what we're going with. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. What were you saying? Sorry.
No. Exactly. What I was trying to shed light upon, like just before, was that to me it's the contrast that gives this cold feeling. You know, because it's with contrast that we get. That our brain gets feelings. You know, it's like if everything is gray, well, it's gray. It doesn't give you a feeling of cold and stuff because you have nothing. It's not in context. It's not put close to something else. If you put metallic gray next to I don't know, like a pastel pink, you're gonna have a feeling that one is softer than the other, that one is warmer than more comforting. And yes, the electronic sounds are absolutely key to building that cyberpunk atmosphere. The world of Ghost in the Shell is this very gritty, high-tech. You talked about glitch. It's exactly that, high-tech future, and the music mirrors it perfectly. As the synth and the industrial noises make you feel like you're walking through a cold metallic world where technology is everywhere. So it's not just about the visuals. The music makes the world feel alien, like it's detached, it's mechanical.
It's
we've
its own
got this
feeling in that
feeling.
sense.
Yes, and we've
got
this
cyborg,
feeling.
like it's its own human, it's its own like entity. The music has an entity in this film, I'm telling you.
Yeah, and the effect is strong because in the music it's mixed, blended with the traditional, and in the movie it's strong because what appears to be a robot is asking itself very human questions.
Extremely human questions. Yes. Yeah. Well said. And what about maybe like to just cap it off on like the music as its own character? Like the music in Ghost in the Shell, like, you know, it doesn't just back up the visuals, like we said, or it's not just like thrown together just to be for the sake of being thrown together. It feels like another storyteller. So, like, if you had to conclude that idea, like, how do you think the music works alongside the entirety of the narrative? Like, take the narrative, subtract the music. When you add in the music, like, what's the macro result? Like, what's the main, like, result that you feel as a composer?
Again, that the music in this film isn't just background noise. There's a lot of it. It's gritty and stuff, but it's not just that. It's actually telling a big part of the story. It helps us understand the characters' emotions and thoughts, especially when they're going through these deep philosophical questions. The music adds another layer to the storytelling, as we just said. Like when Motoko is questioning her identity, the music lets us feel that confusion and search for meaning. It's like the soundtrack is almost guiding us through her journey and help us connect to the film on a deeper level by you said layers of sound. It's the concept is layers of sound, but musically they just complete each other, even in frequencies sometimes. And you have those parts where it's like really ambient, and you have like it's very floaty and stuff, and there's room for other elements to just put little dots that remind us of that bigger picture.
Oh, the bigger picture. Absolutely. All right. I wanted to like talk about maybe like some standout tracks, like songs that really stuck to me. Like for me, the main one is Making of Cyborg, like that, like just that percussion, Gregorian chant, like very floaty track, man. I couldn't believe when I heard what I heard. Like we have these like high vocals, like just ever so slightly coming in and out of like auditory focus, and like just like a little percussion, boom, just kind of like holding, like keeping your attention, like you're getting lulled. Like I don't know, like that song to me like really captivated me. Like I'd be curious to know what you think of it, and then like tell me about other standout tracks for you.
Honestly, that's the one. It's the one I have in my head for the whole movie. It's the opening theme. It makes the whole fucking thing. Then the sorry for my vocabulary.
You can swear, no stress.
Oh yeah? Can I? No.
But it's the internet.
Merde, putain. Yes. So this would be the track that I think it absolutely encapsulate the core theme of the film. It feels sacred,
very sacred
by those because this is exactly the one you're talking about. Like it's been 2 or 3 times when we talk about the music, we talk about that opening track with the Gregorian chants, the percussions, and this track, it feels so sacred and yet disturbing at the same time. The chant, the choir, it gives a sense of spirituality, but as the music builds, you feel that machine-like, as in the movie, you feel that machine-like coldness creeping in. And
absolutely,
it really, I don't know, it perfectly mirrors the idea of Motoko trying to find her soul in a world that's becoming more and more artificial. It's a
very artificial world. Yeah. I'm gonna go slightly off script here because I just had a flashback about something, and I kind of want to bring it up, but like if you don't want to talk about it, we won't. But I remember, like obviously, like you're a drummer. You're a very, very talented drummer. Okay, this is. I don't know if we said this in the intro. Like Simon's incredible at drums. He's a multi-instrumentalist, but like I've seen him on the drum kit. He is crazy. And I remember in university we had an assignment where we had to score a scene, and I didn't feel like writing like musical notes. I was like, I just kind of want to do drums, and I presented mine, and the teacher like gave her comments, and then you presented yours, and you also did like a purely percussive thing, if I remember correctly. So I would love, because you're a drummer, like we didn't really talk too much about like let's like if you had to comment on the percussion, like just like, it doesn't have to be this song, but like you're someone who understands drumming really well, so I'd be super curious to know what you think about like just all the percussion elements throughout this film. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We absolutely relevant because we have a traditional way of playing instruments.
Yes.
That we get, and there's a way of absolutely messing it up also. Like glitch is rhythm. Glitch is like distorting the timeline, you know? And it's like having things. So there's this very there's this pace of there's a very important part in the pace of a traditional Japanese music. You have those big percussions. You know, they adapted. I mean, there's an orchestra that played the original soundtrack of Ghost in the Shell. It's an incredible live. I strongly recommend that anybody would check it. So you have a choir that sings the music from the film, opening themes. You have the real percussions, the real traditional ones, and they manage to give that. But as you see those percussions, you can clearly see that it's not made to have a fast pace. When you have an enormous freaking drum, and when I say enormous, it's like it's huge. It's like when you have your both arms, like it's like the length of two human arms of regular length, you know? So it's, I don't know how you say with your metric system. I'm not used to it, but I'd say 2 meters or something like that.
Metric system and confusing me on this podcast.
And so you have those ladies that are wearing traditional costumes and stuff, and they hit the drum with 2 enormous sticks, and you can tell that you have a little drop of sweat every time they hit, you know. So those big sounds are made by big instruments. Big instruments, percussive instruments, generally are hard to have a fast pace to, because, as you know, resonates a lot. So that's what we get at the beginning. For example, on the opening theme, we've got, as you said earlier, we got the choir, and we got one big boom, and then some kind of a gong that goes, and everything is like resonates and stuff. And as you move through the movie, things become glitchy, you know, like things go faster. And this is technology, you know, it's like things get faster and faster. And the rhythmic in the soundtrack is, it's like you take two literal opposites. It's like the traditional is gonna be slow, the technologic is gonna be fast, you know. And it's at least what I felt. And yeah, so it shows you rhythm that you can't humanly do, and that's fantastic. If we are to take this kind of point of view, we can imagine someone playing the koto. We can imagine someone hitting the traditional drum, but it's impossible to imagine someone playing the electronic, super fast electronic percussions, the glitches, all the gritty stuff. And
no, absolutely. It's its own. That's once again, we like if we haven't said it before, we'll say it again. Like there's a organic and electronic.
Yes, but it's all about.
But they come together and they come apart.
We have to. You cannot not say it all the time because it's this duality that is in the
Yes.
movie all the time. So yeah, it's like
It's stereo.
what's interesting to see and how it's like super. It's a fun question you ask because it's to see this duality in how many layers of the movie can we see that duality has been put, and it's in the music, it's in the textures of the instrument, it's in the philosophy, it's in the aesthetics, it's in the rhythm. It's absolutely cool.
Absolutely, completely agree with you. I kind of asked everything I wanted to ask. I would have one more question in the sense of like final thoughts on this soundtrack, Simon, and then I'll go to my final thoughts and everything. But like, what are your parting words when it comes to like the music in Ghost in the Shell?
It's what strikes me is still the fact that it feels absolutely timeless, because when you use the technology of the time and you want to really encapsulate what technology advance is at the time. I mean, it was the 95, it's not right now, but I don't know, still we've got this same sense. The music sounds like the world we have now too. It's really nice, and that music is not. He manages through gritty sounds, metallic, like almost concrete music, through glitches to make them not background noises but active participants of the storytelling, and it manages to reflect the themes of the film that are super deep and super modern, super like it's now we ask ourselves those questions more and more, and the music makes you feel the emotional weight of those themes in a way that sticks with you long after the movie's over, I think.
No, absolutely, and like on my end, like I think that this soundtrack is absolutely fantastic, but like I can't get Making of a Cyborg out of my mind. That's where my mind like obviously the rest of the soundtrack is incredible, but Making of a Cyborg is just in repetition. In my head.
It's a piece that is a reference to so many musicians, and not just film composers. But I remember talking about film music to other musicians in not in that context, and it's been several times, like very often, that this track comes up, and to me it's the first thing I think about. I'm like, fuck, this is never had chills like this in a opening movie with the music. I'm like, wow, where the fuck am I? It's
right,
amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, Simon, thank you so much for taking the time today for sharing this. This was so much fun. Come back anytime if you have another film you want me to watch or a series you want me to watch. Like, you are more than welcome to come back. For people who want to check out your work and follow you online, go ahead, promote whatever projects you have coming up, coming out, or anything you want to promote. Go ahead.
I'd say what is we recorded this weekend with the band that I talked to you about earlier, Silent After Dark. We have shows coming, so it's just what's on my mind because it's the freshest thing,
of course.
And yeah, if you're about glitches and about questions about modernity and having this duality between man and machine, it's themes that are intrinsic to the project. It's a really like trying to give a modern twist to a culture that we already have, which is rock music. I don't know. It takes from new metal, it takes from grunge, it takes from Britpop, but it
It's
sounds
incredible.
It sounds cold as Ghost in the Machine.
I really encourage people to go check out Silent After Dark. It's an incredible band. Really like your music. Like I got to here's a little story, and then I'll end the podcast. But like I don't know if it was Silent After Dark at the time, but like I had the chance to like record you guys at a practice at Planet Studios like during the pandemic, and that was like one of the funnest sessions I ever had, and I couldn't believe. I was like, these guys are so good. Like and like we're recording this. This is crazy.
Yeah, it was super nice. It was the band at the time. Then I left for a year, as you know, in Belgium, and came back. And we managed to pick up where we left, and that
amazing,
was super cool.
I'm very glad you picked up where you left off. So reminder that the podcast is sponsored by Laser Audio Technologies. You can use code JaianMusic to get 25% off your favorite creative effects plugins. All of the artwork is by GoPro Kyo. His link is also in the description. Go give him a follow, please. And if you enjoyed this episode of JaianMusic Notes, I release episodes every single week on anime music, so make sure to subscribe in your favorite podcatcher. I make anime music covers. I'm probably gonna have to do some Ghost in the Shell covers after this conversation. I am in the mood. So subscribe to JaianMusic Notes in your favorite podcatcher. Give us a 5-star review. I am at JaianMusic on social media. JaianMusic.com is my website, so go check that all out for me, please. So for myself and Simon, this has been another episode of JaianMusic Notes. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.